Okay, we'll get the meeting started. Good evening and welcome to the, February 19th meeting of the Water and Wastewater Commission. I'll call the meeting to order. Please be advised that FATV is conducting an audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. Anybody in the audience who is recording this meeting, please identify themselves, but we don't have anybody here. At this time, I ask that all electronic devices be put in silent mode. Did I do that? Yes, I did. Okay. Do we need a roll call? Is that?
Probably should, just because we got some absences.
Okay. We'll do a roll call. Nick Erickson, Commissioner of Public Works.
Here.
George Senner.
Here.
Joseph Byrne is not here. Michael McLaughlin is not here. Gary Withington.
Here.
Jason Lefert.
Here.
And also we have Mark McNamara, Deputy Commissioner of Wastewater, and John DeLine, Deputy Commissioner of Water. Welcome. Let's see. First item on the agenda, the minutes for the December 18th meeting were sent out. Has everybody had a chance to review them? Yeah. So I'll accept the motion to approve unless there are any changes.
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Thank you. Water Division, John DeLine.
Good evening, everyone. Nothing, just a bunch of project updates I'd like to provide. We don't have any votes or anything like that. So the Main Street Water Main Replacement Project, probably the most important part of that is that we're going to have an informational meeting next Thursday, the 27th at 9 a.m. in this room. So for businesses and anyone else along the Main Street corridor that might be interested. So we'll have a presentation from our engineers and, have a question and answer session after that. So we'll start getting some stuff out on social media. I know Liz Murphy from the planning department is taking the lead on getting notifications of businesses and anybody else along Main Street. And she has all that contact information. So, so hopefully, we can answer some questions. We're going to show some pictures of what the work looks like, particularly the temporary hydrants and temporary piping that'll be along the street. Because I'm sure some people will, be concerned about that once they see it laid out, but it's a necessary part of this project. The project itself, we're hoping to start in March, but winter's not doing too well for us. They're going to start getting temporary pipe out around the upper common, but we'll see because there is a significant amount of frost in the ground, so it may get delayed. Plus, of course, the snow, if there's still snow remaining at the rate we're going. But because it takes a while for that temporary pipe to get installed, charged, disinfected, tested to make sure it's bacteria free, they want to get an early start so that, come April, they can, there's just a lot of temporary piping on this project because of the types of buildings and the connections and the fire protection that's needed to be, put in place. So it's going to take a while to get that installed. So, excavation at best wouldn't start till probably almost a month later. So that's why they do want to get an early start on that. Of course, once they're in the project, they're excavating a section. The company, it's a separate company that's doing the temporary piping installation. They'll be able to leapfrog again and get that one, pressure test, make sure it's no leaks, disinfected, and ready to go. As excavation is proceeding in the previous portion. So we did have a meeting with Mass DOT today to talk about the Water Street, the two bridge projects on Water Street, the one over the railroad tracks, as well as the Nashua. The Nashua doesn't have quite as much impact as the bridge over the railroad tracks coming on the Main Street because they have some work that needs to be done within Boulder Drive beneath the bridge. New abutments, relocating the road a bit more toward the bridge itself to accommodate the abutments. So we need to make sure that, we talked about having another coordination meeting later on because once we're doing water work down in that area, traffic is going to be a bit of an issue. So we want to try to coordinate that as well as possible. Plus the other projects that go on downtown or near downtown, sewer separation It's probably the other major one, so. So yeah, that meeting's next for anybody listening, is next Thursday at 9 a.m. in this building, Legislative Affairs Building, so. Any questions at all?
Questions for John?
The Meetinghouse, Gatehouse rehabilitation project is proceeding along. Not a lot of work's done. It's a lot of planning and figuring out some things with a contractor. The traveling screens that are going there have been ordered and, will be delivered in a couple months. But the work itself will get underway, in April, May. So it's a pretty important project for us because that is the Gatehouse where all the water from Meetinghouse, which is the terminal reservoir to the regional treatment plant, goes through. So we're excited to get that done because we have had some issues with cold up there and freeze-ups and things like that. Issues with power outages, legs dropping out on the three-phase, so the traveling screen doesn't work. It's a real problematic site with us, and that building, is pretty old, so it does need to be rehabilitated. Plus, we'll be adding a generator so that, if a phase drops out, National Grid's been pretty good about responding, but a few hours in cold weather can be an issue. So if a phase drops out or if we have an extended period without electricity there, we'll have that. We do have a portable that's up there, but it's just not as, quick to swap over to get that up there and connected as it will be with a standby generator right there. So ensure that we don't have issues with water freezing within the Gatehouse or things like that. So that's progressing. Mare Meadow Pump Station Rehabilitation Project, I actually just signed the contract with the contractor today, and it's went to City Hall for further circulation. I'm the first signature, so that'll be reviewed through City Hall and signed off, so that we're all set to go there. So there's a lot of lead time to that because of the pumps and things like that have to be ordered, and the contractor's not going to order those things until the contract's signed. So, but as far as schedule, it's on schedule. Most of the work won't be done till the fall after the peak demand season, so that pumps can maybe taken offline and removed from that pump station and new ones installed. We'll have to worry about do we have to pump water to supply another reservoir. So. Regional roof replacement project is basically at a standstill with the weather. They don't have a lot of work left to do, but once it's settled in, they had a week or week and a half, maybe 2 weeks tops of work to do depending on the weather, but it basically stalled them completely. So looks like some warmer weather next week, but with snow on the roof and things like that, it may hamper them making progress. So we had hoped to finish it, in January, but like I said, with the weather, it's just been pretty difficult. The winds, especially trying to work on a roof in an open area like that and lay down roofing, rubber roofing and things like that, makes it pretty tough. So the final thing I have on the list is the regional treatment plant. We're doing a pilot study coming up for changing coagulant from what we call PAC, polyaluminum chloride, to a ferric chloride or some other ferric type coagulant because of the NPDES permit. We have a NPDES permit just like Wastewater does for their treatment plant. We have a discharge from the backwash that eventually goes down to Wyman Pond, and they've put stricter aluminum standards in place, so we have to make sure we meet those standards. And rather than building a whole treatment system for the aluminum, we feel that this is the more advantageous way to go, is to switch to the ferric chloride. So we met with DEP a couple weeks ago, got their approval. We're gonna actually run it through the plant. We did like jar tests last fall. We're actually gonna run it through a plant, and that's all gonna go to waste because we can't put that in a system without other things in place. So we're going to do that over a week or two and see how it actually works, in the plant itself. The jar tests were very favorable. In fact, they showed that it might even work better than PAC. So we're hoping that the actual, almost full-scale pilot study demonstrates the same thing, and then we can proceed on with doing the permitting from Mass DEP. There's a bit of work involved because once you switch something like that, you now have to, we've had waivers for our lead and copper sampling and not having to sampling as many points or as frequently because we're meeting all those levels. So we'll have to go back once switching to the ferric if it does work out, and we'll have to start from scratch as far as sampling and testing for lead and copper, as will Westminster, who receives all our water from us. So it'll be a bit of work in that area, but it'll be worth it in the long run, and would save us money versus having to treat our waste further. So in addition, we've also been looking at the piping inside the building. We actually shut down the plant today and got inside some of the stainless steel piping. We are seeing some corrosion that's evident on the outside. So we actually got inside the piping to see what's going on inside there, whether it's really deteriorated or not. I think I've mentioned before to the previous meeting that, the regional plant, we thought at the time when they built the regional plant, they thought they were doing the right thing by having all stainless steel piping come in the plant. But come to find out, the water actually attacks that. There's some things that go on inside that piping and actually, deteriorates the stainless steel piping. It's not as corrosion proof as you would think. The Faluba plant has ductile iron that's cement lined, and that shows, no wear and tear whatsoever, whereas the piping at the regional plant does. So once we get back the results of that, we had a company come in through our consultant and, like I said, inspect the inside of the pipe and do some other testing on it just to see if there's any, the pipe is any thinner across the whole, lengths of pipe. We'll see what the decision is made in that. That plant came online in the early 2000s, like 2002, 2003. So we're getting up there in age, and just some of the stuff is starting to wear out a bit. So we need to look at, rehabilitating other parts of the plant as well, just because of this wear and tear on various parts. Chemical feed tanks are getting old. They're starting to bulge a little bit, just from loading and unloading. We'll have 1,000 gallons of whatever chemical delivered, expand the tank a little bit, goes back in. You do that for 20-something years, and they start to wear. So we need to look at replacing those tanks as well. Looking at pumps and things like that are inside the plant. So that's all part of the evaluation of the plan, where we go from there, basically identifying, what needs to be done, and then eventually putting together, doing the engineering, putting together plans and specifications for a project down the road. So, but right now, like I said, our priority is to meet that NPDES permit that comes into full force January 1st of next year, 26. So. And right now, we just need to get through that pilot study while still working on this other stuff, and meet that critical path so we can make EPA happy. So, I think that's, and we as far as evaluation, we are also looking at PFAS there, because we do have some low levels. We're below the limits, but if we're going to do an upgrade of the plant, we may want to consider treating for that as well. So. Those are the type of things that we are looking at, looking at all the air valves that run the plant, whether they should return to electric valves or, those are the type of things we're evaluating just to see if we can, improve the operation and, where if there's efficiencies that, less chemical usage or less electricity usage or anything like that, we'll do that. Same thing with the roof project. We insulated the roof better to save on, heating costs. So in addition to upgrading it, we're, like I said, we're trying to make those improvements as well. So I think that's all I have. So if there's any questions at all.
Questions for John? Good. Thanks for your report.
Thank you.
Mark McNamara, Wastewater Division. Sorry. I always mess that up.
Like John, I have a little update on a couple of our projects. And like John stated, it is the winter time, so not much is really going on. There is some, but not like it's going to be. CSO 10, our first project that I'm mentioning, it's the one that we've been doing for the last couple of years. It's on the Upper Main Street, up by the River Street Rotary. They will remobilize when the weather gets better, and then they're going to finish that construction project sometime this spring, early summer. And so we can see the end of that one, which is just in time for us to really start ramping up CSO 32. And so that's the big one we'll be seeing this construction season. Right now, they're working on performing sewer pre-cleaning and measuring in various locations, mostly up in the Essex and Elm Street areas. So that's where they're working right now until the weather improves. They're doing new sewers and sewer manholes. When the weather improves, you'll really start to see that, kick off, and that's when you'll start seeing some probably effects on the traffic patterns that we have. So we'll be mentioning more of that as the time goes on, keeping people informed. John did mention the informational meeting that's coming up next week, so I don't have to mention that. So if anyone has concerns or questions, please come out and we'll try to answer them the best we can. There's going to be a lot of good construction projects going on for the next couple of years, so it's going to affect everybody. Any questions on our construction projects at all?
Question mark? We can keep going.
All right. The next one I have is we all heard that Greif container is closing, and so that does impact wastewater. Obviously, it's going to reduce our revenue. We budget about $425,000 a year in revenue from them. So they're going to be ceasing operations probably in June, and total plant stoppage, I think, next October. So we will see a big reduction in what they're contributing to the wastewater budget. We also may be seeing savings because of that. We do pump out their water and goes down to the east plant. So we'll be seeing savings at the west plant for electrical usage. We do spend over $100,000 just in electricity, just pumping that. And we'll possibly see some chemical savings down at the east plant. With the reduced biological load that they give us, it'll be a cleaner influent stream that's coming in. It will reduce the flow in that whole section of the town, of the city, which could be a positive thing, but we don't know if Greif will be selling the property to somebody else. And so we have to maintain their usage per day, which they give us 250,000 gallons a day. So we have to put that aside until we really find out what's going on with their property. If that does go away, it does open up a lot of possibilities in that area. We do have a reduced capacity there due to the pipe sizes, and we have a lot of infiltration going on in that area that we haven't addressed yet with the CSO projects. That's coming, but we haven't gotten there yet. So we may see, everything upstream, which includes Westminster, may affect them and what they can give us. But we won't know that till, more time has gone by. So that's what Greif will be doing to the wastewater department that we know of at this point.
We get about $40,000, $30,000 to $40,000 a year in revenue from them. Not as significant as wastewater, because they also pulled a lot of their water from the river and pond up there, for their processes. So, but we'll see that. I mean, it's not a huge hit, but every little amount counts, because we got the distribution system there, ability to serve whether they're there or not. So, but that's about the impact to us.
Yep.
Questions?
Can you just remind me what the total budget is?
The total budget, it varies. I believe last year was around 15 million for everything. Yeah.
Ours is about 8, a little more.
Yeah, it depends on what projects we have going on from year to year. So a lot of the capital items contribute to that, to the difference from year to year. The next item I have is...
Mark, if you could hold 1 second.
Sure.
I just wanted to mention that...
I got to recuse myself from this next item.
Okay. The next item I have is one of our SIUs, advanced coding. They have been a problem last year for us. They have been in numerous violations. We've had administrative orders given to them from the city, and they have not done some of the testing they were supposed to. And our next course of action is we either have to start fining them per day, or we're going to have to kick them out of the program. So we're talking that over with our consultants right now in the our engineering consultants to see the best course of action, but we've tried to get them to comply with their program throughout the whole year, started in April, and we've had very little success. We actually met them last December. I went up there with the IPP coordinator and our engineering consultant and sat down with them and told them about the gravity of the situation, and we still haven't seen any improvements. So we just don't know which avenue to take. So,
Is this something we should be getting legal, the city solicitor should be talking?
I can find out. This is the first time that I know of that we've had a problem like this from a SIU. So I can reach out to them for their advice.
I mean, I seem to remember, oh God, it's probably 15 years ago, a similar issue with the same company.
You know, we hate to see them go, but, you know, what happens if we don't address this? The EPA inspects us, you know, every couple of years. They go through all our records, and they look for stuff like this, and they want to know, what are we doing about it? And if we don't do something about it, the EPA comes down on us, not them. So we need to address it. We want to take the best course so that they stay in the program, obviously, but we want them to take this serious and get with it. But all this effort we've made at the time has not seemed to have done very much.
I mean, if memory serves this, I mean, I think it was 15 years ago or thereabouts, and it seemed to be the problem came to a head, got fixed.
Yep.
And I don't think I've heard this name for
Yeah.
interim anyway. And you might have had some issues, but I think they got to get back on track. And if it should be the city solicitor.
They're not big violations, but they're just a lot of them, and it's consistent.
Yeah.
They're not major. You know, it's not like they're really poisoning their waste stream that's coming into us. They're small little violations, but there's requirements they need to do when that happens. And the follow-up requirements aren't being done. That's really.
Do you recall what we did last time, 15 years ago or so?
My memory is that it was this type of a discussion. And whatever, I think we had to take, we went the next, if I remember, and please don't, I don't want that to be
No,
factual, but memory was that we went the next step, whatever we had to do, and my memory was that they came into compliance, and, you know, we're good
Yeah.
citizens for quite a while.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's my memory.
I'm bringing it up here because it's gotten to that point where I need to make you guys aware of it. So we are going to have to take a step. We just don't know what the next step is.
Yeah.
So
I would
I'll
think
keep you
maybe
informed.
discussing that with the city solicitor would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we don't want the,
Yeah, we don't want to go down the wrong route.
we don't want to be paying any fines to DEP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions on that issue?
Nope.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
That's all I had for advance. The next item I have was a PFAS update. John talks about PFAS. You know, PFAS is going to be on our agenda for quite some time now. It's on the EPA's hot list, and when it's on their hot list, it becomes our hot list. So we have notified all the SIUs, which stands for significant industrial users. We have 7 of them. And we also had to include any car washes that discharge into the sewer system. With the new rules and regulations, they're all part of the program now, so we have to get them within the, give them a permit and all that. So we did send out a letter stating that we have to do PFAS testing on their waste stream, and the city is going to absorb the cost the first year to do all this testing. And next year, what we're going to do is we'll do the testing, but we're going to bill them for it. So we'll see what the test, you know, what it entails and what it's going to cost this year. So we thought it'd be fair for us to do the first round. And after that, we're going to have the companies, you know, pay for it themselves. We don't think the ratepayers should pay for that. Okay. Any questions on PFAS? You know, you hear about it all the time now. And my last item is just want to mention about the FY25 budget. We are developing it right now. We have a meeting next week with the mayor to present what we have. And then we finalize everything, then we're going to be presenting it to you sometime in, I don't know, March or April to run over everything with you guys. Right now, I don't see any surprises that are going on. So, it's not like a couple of years ago when we had all those chemicals that were, in flux. But this year, looks everything normal, inflation, stuff like that, so shouldn't see any big problems.
If you can do what you did the last couple times, is get them to, before we have the meeting, if you,
The chemicals are coming out the end of March. So we'll have all the figures, I think, mid to late March. So we'll have everything finalized before April. So,
if you give the preliminary budget to us before our meeting, so that it's easier to understand when you're presenting it.
yeah, we'll make sure you get it within, I don't know, a couple weeks, 10 days.
Yeah, we should be able to get it before the April meeting, if not sooner, and then, we can present at the meeting and then maybe look for a vote in May. I think
Yeah.
that would meet the schedule. That'll give you, time to answer that and digest it, and then a final vote in May.
Yeah,
Because there may be some things that we have to change as well, depending on, insurance costs for the city or something like that. So we have to, our employees also have health insurance, things like that. So there may be some tweaks that go along, and it's no sense in having you vote. But having said that, it shouldn't be, significant changes, but we just need you to vote on the final budget. So, but you should have a couple meetings worth to digest it, so.
yeah. And we did have that rate study a couple of years ago, and all this is factored into what we're doing now. So, we're pretty comfortable with what we have. Okay?
Very good.
That's all I got.
Any other questions for Mark?
Nope.
Okay, any other business? Hearing none, the next meeting will be 5 o'clock on March 19th, right here at the Legislative Building. No other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you.